So once again, we are being reminded of the horror of gun crime in the United States. According to some figures, there have been 70 mass killings over the past 30 years, leaving more than 500 people dead. 2012 is said to be the worst year ever. This year alone, there have already been 4 mass attacks. Still, US politicians refuse to toughen gun laws, and despite all his pleadings, there seems nothing President Barack Obama can do about it. Let's bring in Adam Lockyer from the US Study Centre now to talk more about this. It is another reminder. How many more events is it going to take to try to get some movement on this when all of the opinion polls say this is what people want? They want a change.
Well, this type of attack is a different category to what we saw at Newtown. This is street violence, this is gang violence, which in many American psyche is very different to the mass killings that we saw back in December. So, and this type of killing is what accounts for most of the homicides, the gun-related homicides in the United States each year.
It still goes to show, though, that people have guns and they're using them. And, you know, we saw the 19 people injured today. Could have been 19 people killed.
Oh, easily. And so this type of violence with handguns is what accounts for most of the homicides. So since Newtown, there have been close to 4,000 deaths already, but most of those are accounted for by handguns, and most of that is street violence, like we saw today. So we saw this was a larger scale attack, but this is not uncommon in places like New Orleans, Chicago and Detroit.
And of course, when we talk about gun control, you're talking there about, apart from having more procedures and people being able to get their hands on guns, but really assault weapons, aren't you? Not so much the handguns.
That's true, but this is why there's so much opposition to the assault rifle ban, because many gun enthusiasts see the assault gun ban as the thin edge of the wedge. That if they start to ban the assault weapons, they'll come after the handguns next, and who knows where it ends.
And with the numbers that you're talking about, why would that be a bad thing?
Well, the thing is that what's really frustrating for President Obama is that it's his constituency which is being killed. So the inner city black youth, young youth, they're the ones that account for most of the homicides with handguns. Yet most of the opposition is coming from the rural constituency, which make up most of the NRA, and the Republicans constituency. So when he's trying to push things through the House and through the Senate, it's the Republicans who are listening to the farmers and the rural voters and who can't get anything through. It's not them who are necessarily dying, it's the inner city blacks.
What makes it much more complicated as well is there are some states which do have tougher gun restrictions than other states. But there are still killings in those states as well. So it's not cut and dried, is it?
That's true. So trying to get some sort of uniform gun laws, it needs to come out of Washington, and this is the hard thing. So one of the things that Obama has been trying to do is get universal background checks, and to make sure that this is going to be more uniform across state borders. Whereas now some states are enforcing that fairly strictly, like California, whereas just across the border in Arizona, you can basically go into any gun store and get a gun without too much trouble.
When we hear about things like background checks, what are they talking about? What are the types of checks that would be carried out, and what would be the type of thing that would disqualify someone from being able to purchase a weapon?
2 main things. The first one is a criminal history, and the second one is psychological disorders, any sort of mental instability. And
everyone who went to buy would have to fill out some sort of a form to declare this, or would there be more thorough checks than that?
So there's, at this stage it goes to the FBI. So the FBI has a database of people who are more or less blacklisted from owning weapons. But that database, collects its data from the states. So the states are supposed to supply the FBI with the data which they can then run the checks. Now some states frequently pass the data on, like California, whereas other states like Arizona have never passed on any data at all. So the database is only as good as the information it contains.
But this then this deals with licensed weapons, not with the unlicensed, and so many guns are unlicensed and they're being bought and sold on the black market.
And this is why opinion in the United States is slowly drifting towards being less supportive of gun control. The reason for this is because people are just giving up. They're saying that it's going to be too difficult to get the guns off the street. So if there are already 30 million guns out there, then the criminals are going to have them. So the only way to protect myself is not to disarm the bad guys, it's for the good guys to also have guns. So they're being convinced by those type of arguments.
Is there a cultural aspect to we hear a lot about the political side. We also know that it's fundamental to Americans' idea of themselves, the right to bear arms. Is that not just embedded politically but culturally in America?
Slightly. So there is a sense that weapons are a way of maintaining liberty against government authoritarianism, against tyranny. But I think that there have been movements across time towards being more supportive of guns rather than restricted gun control. So, for example, it would have been a no-brainer to have banned assault weapons. It was even as late as 15 years ago. Opinion has shifted a long way on this. We saw that after the Vietnam War, there was very strong support for gun control right across the political spectrum, from the right across to the left. The thought of having assault weapons on the city streets would have been unthinkable.
And yet here we are, 2013, still having the same discussion, and I fear, we're having it again today, and sadly there'll be another shooting, and we'll be having the same discussion.
Unfortunately.
Adam, again, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.